Is one thing this year has taught me is life is too short to be finishing a book that you do not like. So this video is going to be talking about books that I DNF'd and books that I should have DNF'd. I would also be reading 1-star reviews on Goodreads about the books, respectfully of course. So let's get right into this video. Hello everyone, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Favor's Favor. My name is Favor. I'm so happy to see you guys today. I hope you guys like this video and I hope you subscribe if you haven't already. And as you're watching this video, my favorite books of the year video should already be out, so I'm not all negative. I like books too. So I have 8 books in total, 4 that I DNF'd and 4 that I should have DNF'd. So we're gonna get right into it. And the first book that I DNF'd in my whole reading journey was Dream Count by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. And this book definitely disappointed me. Obviously, if you know anything about Chimamanda, she's probably like the greatest female African author there is. If I could think of any, I would say, but like she's really good, and her earlier books are like really good. They're really popular. This was her most recent release this year. She hadn't released a book in like years, and it was really highly anticipated, and this just disappointed me. I think it follows like 4 women that were related in some way, but the main thing that like pissed me off about this book was just like their relationship with men, almost feeling like they did anything just to keep a man. I was just like, what are you guys doing? And I didn't like the book. I ended up buying the physical book after I returned the library copy. It literally took me like a week to read 25% on this book. I bought the book while it was 50% off at Barnes & Noble, hoping that I would somehow pick it up and, you know, find something else that I didn't see the first time. So I'm gonna read like 2 reviews that I have on my Goodreads. The first one says, someone tweeted that Chimamanda is a great writer but a bad storyteller, and that is exactly how I felt reading this book. The writing is beautiful, but where was the story? And that's one thing too. Like, I couldn't tell where the story was going or what was the reason for telling me certain stuff. And I'm just like, I was definitely disappointed with this book. Somebody said this is the kind of book that makes me glad to be a lesbian. Honestly, I'm not even lesbian, but like the way she wrote about these women's lives with the men in their lives, I was very put off by it. And I guess I'll read another one by someone that I follow on Goodreads. She was like, I really wanted to like it, but sometimes our faves miss the mark, and that's okay. It just reminds us that we're human in the end. If you guys have read any of the books I mentioned in this video and you liked it, please comment down below, because the ones that I DNF, I don't mind like going back to it and seeing what I may or may not have, you know, missed. So the next book I want to talk about, I got from the library, and this is one that honestly, I don't care what you guys think about the book, I'm not picking it back up. I was really upset that I wasted my Spotify listening hours, you know, reading this book, and that is The Goddess Complex by Sanjina Satyan. I think I listened up to like 31% of this book. In my head, I'm just like, is this satire? Like, what am I missing? And I couldn't really tell you much of what this book is about. I don't know if it was some type of mystery thriller, but I just gave up, and I'm just like, how are people enjoying this book? Let me just like read some reviews of this book. One of the reviews says the first half of the book was a completely different genre from the second half, plus the characters and their motives were not explained well and kind of hazy. The next one says boring, no likable characters, just one berserk thing after another, but in a way that was not interesting or explained any of the earlier berserk things. That's how I felt. I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why am I reading this? I was really upset reading this book, I'm not gonna lie, and I definitely won't be picking it back up regardless of what everybody says in the comments. So the next book I have was one that I literally DNF'd this month, earlier in the month, and that was Holidays by Brittany Cherry. A Christmas book. I think my main issue with this book was just how like predictable, and like was just a lot of like big things happen. Like she got left at the altar, and like the main female character was so immature. Like I believe she was like 25 or 26, but she was literally acting like she was 17 or 18. Like I would have seen some of that happen if it was like a YA book. It was not. So this one says, didn't know which romance higher power I pissed off because I keep picking up the most bland, uninspiring, and annoying romance books and I'm sick of it. This one says, oh my god, the worst part of the book was the fact that I actually thought it was going to get better. I literally read 47% of this book. I started not liking it from the beginning, but I was just like, okay, let me see where it's going. You know, it's Christmas, it has to get better. Like, stuff has to like take a turn for the better. And the thing is, I had the audiobook, I had the Kindle, so like I was set up to read that book and finish it, but did not work out. It's also a book that I probably won't pick up, and it's sad because I'm just like, I had to come to Goodreads and check it out because I'm like, what's going on? Am I the only person that, you know, doesn't like it? Because the book itself has like 4-star rating on Goodreads, which is pretty good, and it's like 2 people that I follow that rated this book a 4 stars. Here I am, like, probably wasn't going to give it above a 2-star, and I just couldn't finish. The last book that I DNF'd was an ARC that I got, and this was sad to me because it wasn't like a horrible book, and like I said in my monthly reading wrap up when I read that book, I did say that I would not mind picking the book back up if there was like an audiobook component to this book. And that book is The White Hot by Kiara Eliger Hughes. This was the first book of its kind for me. It's called like an epistolary novel, so like there's no chapters. The whole book is told as like one big like letter or novel, if that makes sense. Let me see, what did I leave a review? Yes, I said DNF at 55%. The first 45% of this book was intriguing and different. The last 10% that I read was just dragging. The book isn't bad, but it's for a specific audience that doesn't include me right now. I'll be open to checking out the audiobook. The main thing I said was the language is very specific and intense, and as a newbie reader, it definitely felt a little bit much. So this was the one book that I was just like, maybe it would be best for when I'm a slightly more experienced reader, because there were like so many words that I was like, I had to check the dictionary because I'm just like, what is she saying? It definitely felt like a diary. The book itself it's a letter from her mother to a daughter that she abandoned after like 6 or 8 years, and it was definitely intense. I would totally listen to the audiobook because I don't think it was a long book either. Like, I believe this book was like 170 pages and I still couldn't finish it. And somebody that I follow also was like, I was captivated until about 35% into the book, and then the timelines and pacing started getting confusing. There were just things that I was just like, why are you telling me this? Like, what's going on? Why are you going this route? I would totally, you know, see myself picking it up again in the future. So those were the 4 books that I DNF'd, did not finish. Now I'm going to talk about the 4 books that I did finish, but honestly I could have done without, you know, reading them. So the first one is Time of Your Life by Jessa Hastings. I literally bought this book the same month it came out because there was hype around it, and obviously I was still like 2 months of my reading journey. I was like, okay, let me buy into the hype and see what kind of author Jessa Hastings is, because obviously I've heard a lot of people talking about Magnolia Parks. But this book, and what's funny about this book, I still read it in like 2 or 3 days. The writing was there. Like, it's not like a horrible book. I just don't like the story or the characters in the book. Like, there was one part of the book where like he said the F word like every other sentence. I'm like, is this necessary? Some people are like calling it like Magnolia Parks on steroids. Honestly, the way I felt about this book, I don't want to even read Magnolia Parks. And I believe there's supposed to be like a book that follows this book. Not interested. Definitely won't be buying it with my money. It's this, I bought it with my money, and if I ever was gonna do a book hunt haul, this will be part of it, because I don't see myself even recommending this book to anybody. And the fact that this book is supposed to be a book set in the 90s, and there was nothing like 90s about it, although it's like British people, I don't know. Read this book at your own detriment. The other thing too is I heard people talking about this book being written by ChatGPT. I personally couldn't tell. If that's what the author is doing, more reason for me not to support her and her books. But if that's not what she's doing, I still don't think I'm going to support her books either anyways. I'm looking at the reviews of Time of Your Life on Goodreads, and most of them are saying what I said, at least the ones that are like the 1 or 2 star reviews. Me personally, I said it was very childish and very messy. The book also left on a cliffhanger, which was like, that's not my personal preference. When it comes to series, I'm someone that prefers to like read my series in a row. Yeah, I did not like this book. So the next book I want to talk about is The Women by Kristen Hanna, and this is one that I talked about in one of the vlogs that I filmed. I definitely felt like I was like an unpopular opinion regarding this book, although there are people that felt the same way as I did. I believe I rated this book at 2.5 stars, and I would read one of the comments that like said part of how I feel. And it says, I really wanted to love this, but it's the same white American savior view of Vietnam War that we've seen so many times before. Honestly, I had higher expectations for this book. It was also a book club pick, so not even a book that I would have picked up on my own, but I was somehow like happy to read it because, you know, it follows a nurse. I'm a nurse, so I'm like, okay, maybe I would feel some type of connection to this book. Absolutely not. And also, I'm not someone that like reads a lot of historical fiction, but there were things about this book that made me feel like I should have liked it more. And the thing that like really like upset me about how the book was written was it just followed the one nurse, Frankie, and her life transitioning from like civilian to military back to civilian. And I said in my reviews of this book that she basically had like a lot of advantages, even towards the end when she sold the house that parents gave to her, and then she was able to go buy some land in a more remote state and, you know, help out more women. I'm just like, I don't know. It was just, the book was just full of mistakes after mistakes after mistakes that Frankie made, and her horrible romance life that I wasn't interested in reading about. I feel like if the book was like set up in such a way where we got the perspectives of her two other friends who were nurses too, that would have set up the book in such a better way. If not, this book was just about Frankie. Sure, it talked about some of the Vietnam War, but I don't think it like gave us the true details of it. And it's not a small book either. I want to say this book is definitely over 400 pages, maybe 450. And I mean, I finished it mostly because I had the audiobook, but did not like it, and I would have totally DNF'd it if it wasn't like a book club pick. And so the next book I want to talk about is one that I also have an actual copy of, and if I was ever to do a book hunt haul, it would also be on the chopping block. And that is A Love Songs for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. And this is a book that I feel like a lot of people love, but I also feel like the people that I've talked to about it or I've seen talk about it, they either loved it or didn't like it like me. This is also a book that I think I rated at 2.5 stars, and if it wasn't for the audiobook that I had from Libby, probably wouldn't have finished this book. And this is a book that made me realize that maybe I do not like magical realism. It was a little boring too, and it just, at some point, it felt like I was reading like two books at the same time, because you go from one chapter talking about Ricky and the flower shop to go into like the Renaissance era, talking about this man and being in a jazz club. I don't know, I feel like it just felt like separate books at some point. I'll read some of the reviews that I, you know, see here. And yeah, I'm scrolling now. Some of the people that I follow on Goodreads, a lot of them rated it 5 stars. Shaughnessy actually rated it 2 stars. She said, if you love historical fiction or a heavy focus on magical realism, this book will be for you. And honestly, that's how I feel. This is a book that, don't let my review of it deter you from reading it if you want to read it, because like you said, if you love historical fiction or you love magical realism, you would definitely enjoy this book. Ooh, so this person said easily a contender for the worst book that I've read this year. Okay, that's a lot. Someone said I only finished this so I could complain about it at book club. Okay, that's me too. This one was like, I really loved 7 Days in June, and that's something that I found was when I put up my review, so at least like 2 people commented that was like, most people either like 7 Days of June and they don't like this, or they like this and they don't like 7 Days in June. Honestly, if I want to try out Tia Williams, I think the one I'm actually going to end up trying out, I think, is The Perfect Find by her. And I believe that has like a Netflix movie to it too. So otherwise, I might just hold off on not reading enough for books for right now. Another comment says, DNF, book was very slow and uneventful. I struggled to read as far as I did. Here's one that says, just so much unnecessary information to the point where I skimmed through majority of the book. Do not recommend. So the last book I want to talk about is Holly Jolly Diwali, and this is a book that I literally read last week. I ended up rating this book a 2.75. So it's not a horrible book. I basically said in my review that it's a boring romance and not enough Diwali / holiday scenes in the book. Let me see if I can find some reviews. This person says, As for Goodreads standards, I didn't like it at all. Nothing, not the setting, not the plot, the characters, the romance, not the culture. Damn, this person didn't really like this. I ended up finding out about this book in the comment section, I think, of my Christmas book recommendations video, where 2 of my, subscribers were commenting about non-Christmas holiday books. And I read about 2 of those this month. And this was one that, came up, and I was like, oh, Diwali. This is not something that I know much about. Let me see. But this was definitely like a bad rom-com. And I wish we got more Diwali, settings. And the main character herself was acting juvenile and immature. Some miscommunication trope, and just very predictable. It just felt like a book that maybe if it was released 10 years ago, might have been able to get a pass, but like for right now, no. It wasn't the worst. Again, if you want to pick it up, go ahead and pick it up, but I personally could have done without reading it. I did end up reading it in one day, but that's because I had the audiobooks, and like I said, most of the time, if it's a weekend where I'm busy and I want to read, I'm probably going to pick up a book that I have access to the audiobook for, and that was this book. So that's it with this video. I hope I wasn't being too much of a hater in this video. These were just books that I personally did not enjoy my time reading them. Obviously, I don't want to be a snob to certain books, but I've definitely learned more about what my tastes are and books that I lean more towards. And I definitely will not be afraid to like DNF books when I see that they're not working for me. Just drop them and pick up another book. I don't have to suffer through any book. So if you guys have watched this far, comment down below what was the one book you DNF'd this year. Let me know what it is, and if you guys have again read any of these books that I mentioned in this video, please comment down below. And I hope you've liked this video so far. I hope you comment, and I hope you subscribe if you haven't, and see you guys in my next video. Bye.